was missing. But yeah, I was working very long hours, Monday to Friday. Plus, sometimes I was working at the weekend, and I had the typical, BlackBerry fever. When I was working in banking, even if you were home on holiday, always checking the red light. I don't know if you had a BlackBerry before, but that's how that works. So always checking messages and stuff. And I think, I'm a hard worker anyway. So the work alcoholic, pattern, I can see it still a little bit now at times, although, life sounds much more balanced. But I think, yeah, the how I ended up changing is really the imbalances that I was noticing in my life. And I think I was totally fine with working hard, showing, to people what I could do, and getting more responsibilities and all of this for a few years. Totally in for that, it's part of the game. But then at some point I was like, is that it? I mean, like, surely there is something else, like, and also approaching my 30s, you start, I don't know if you've noticed that, but actually I've noticed that in my surroundings, or the people that I've been surrounded by. But in your 30s you start to kind of like look back or reflect a little bit on what you've done, what you've not done yet. And at least that was my case, starting to reflect slowly but surely, because I was not, I'm not complaining, I was not in a bad position or anything, but I was just noticing some unhealthy habits that I had let creep in, basically, in my life. And I was like, I've always been a bit of a forward thinker. And I was like, is that where you want to be for the next few years, still single? I was like, hell no. So, and then they had been a very stressful case, which obviously I did not have a strong mindset at the time. And I think, well, on that respect, and I think I just did let this case get to me, and it really affected me, like, stress wise. And I was like, that's it, like, I'm done, I need to think about the next step for me. And I'm actually grateful for that, because probably I will still, I don't know if I will still be there, I don't think so, but I will have lasted a bit more longer. And so then again, I was earning good money, obviously, and I enjoyed my colleagues and my level of responsibility. And although the beginnings in London were actually quite tough, we ended up being a very united team, and liking each other and all of that. So that clearly kept me in place for a while. But then I was like, okay, well, think about your own happiness and what you want to do next. And so one thing that I was doing every Friday, even the guy from the massage place was like, oh, well, that must cost you quite a bit of money. But like, for me, I was not, I was working so much that I was actually not spending much money elsewhere. So I was getting for a massage every Friday evening. That was for me this is the beginning of the week. And then chatting with the massage therapist, and then I started to I guess authorize myself to dream about and to design the next steps of my life. So that was really that hour. Sometimes we were chatting, sometimes we were not, and I was just letting myself go, designing my next steps. And then I was like, why don't I actually change career and do the things that make me feel good? And that was about massage. That was about eating healthy food. That was about, fitness and feeling, feeling fit and strong. And I was like, well, that's it. I found it. And so I started to gather lots of information here and there. I mean, you don't change career like this. You better have a plan, and also financially and stuff. So I started to go in the evening to lots of opening days in different schools and, workshops. And at weekend, actually sometimes I was not going out so much. I was actually following some courses already, and just getting excited about the next steps. I wanted to be, I don't think sure is the right term, but I wanted to define the project further.
Mm.
Um, and then I just, my parents were not aware at the time. Only actually my boss, my bosses were aware, and maybe one friend, one very good friend that I felt comfortable talking about that. And because I knew I would go self-employed, I was like, okay, I will contract a mortgage before I leave HSBC, because otherwise, no way they're gonna give me, the mortgage and stuff. So I agreed that with my bosses, and I said, why the process was on the way and all of that. And then, yeah, and then I started to study while I was still at HSBC. And then at some point, I was just like, okay, if you are gonna really give it a go, then you may as well, just leave and give birth fully. Sorry, that was a long answer, but that's how I basically turned online nutrition coach and health coach now. So massage is still part of what I love doing and offering people, but obviously now I work mainly online, so it's more it's a smaller
Mm.
part of my business, let's say.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting because, like when you want to try a new healthy lifestyle, you need to ditch and leave a lot of things like eating habits, smoking, drinking, and also some friends. So, how did you try to leave your old environment, and how does it feel like leaving your old environment and starting a new one? Because it's very difficult, the transition.
This is a very good question. Another very good question. Actually, it there were some people that I felt okay surrounded with when I was in banking, but there was something, I think, over the years I grew into a different person, and the values were not common anymore. And I think I was not feeling 100% comfortable, you know, because there was all about working. They were drinking a lot, in London. There is, I mean, this is the truth, right? There is an alcohol problem um, throughout the UK, but certainly, in London. And yeah, that was just not my thing. I was just more into healthy lifestyle. So obviously healthy lifestyle in banking was, there was just a very few people that were actually following that lifestyle, and I'm still looking for them. I did not find them at the time. So when I changed environment, actually that was fresh air. I was feeling in my element.
Yeah. Yeah, because like just changing the environment and starting a new one, like you feel like you are in the right track, right?
Yes, at the beginning, when I was still um, transitioning and retraining and all of that. I think I was still going to some parties where, some people from London, from both world, were actually from the previous world, because I had not built up the new world
Mm.
type, environment yet. And some people just did not get how I could possibly leave a um, position where I was earning more, to just go through the hassle again. But for me, I obviously did not see that like this. So I was feeling a little bit in limbo at some point, and actually I was just like, you know what? I stay in my own lane. I know what I'm doing, and this is what feels good. And those people, maybe in a few years, I'll look at them, and and anyway, maybe they won't be part of my circle
Mm.
anymore. And actually, that's pretty much the case.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.